Welcome to Mitchell Levy Presents, where I dive into the essential elements of clarity and credibility. Hosted by global credibility expert Mitchell Levy, today's episode offers invaluable insights to make you think and act more credibly. Join us as we explore living your values, boosting your credibility, and leading purposefully. I'm Mitchell Levy, global credibility expert, and welcome to one of the favorite times of my day. Although I've had a really nice day so far. So I am so looking forward to Dr. Alise to be able to give us more, to allow us to see her in such a beautiful way. Dr. Alise Cortez, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Mitchell. It's amazing to be on the other side of the mic.
It is always fun, isn't it?
It really is.
Sides, for different reasons. So the audience knows who you are. Who are you?
What a fun question. Well, I'm going to give you a multi-answer. So I am someone who is a lifelong learner. At any one time, I'm taking some kind of classes. I've lived in Spain and Brazil. When in my 20s, I speak Spanish and Portuguese because of it. Having come from a very small town in Northeastern Oregon, that was a really big deal for me, and going all over Western Europe and South America when I was in my mid-20s, amazing life experience. Fast forward to today, here I am doing improv classes, storytelling classes, tango dance classes, and also singing classes. So that's a little bit just that kind of will help you flavor a little bit about me. And I love dancing with life, right? I believe that life is a beautiful, gorgeous thing, and I'm grateful. And every year that I get older, I'm even more grateful. Every decade that I get older, I'm more grateful. And that shows up in how it is I work with people. At Gusto now, we really are out to help develop leaders, to be inspiring, and cultures to be ones of gusto, where people can actually come and give their best. So that flavors how it is that I work with people. Because I'm a lifelong learner, I love helping others learn, grow, and transform before my eyes. So that's how we do it.
So in 2025, what was that number one growth lesson that smacked you when as soon as you heard it, you're like, oh my God, this is so different?
You know, it had to do so much with how, as we were saying before we got on air, how really we were socializing our offerings here. We were saying before how all of us tend to hearken back to what we think we know or whatever's comfortable, and none of those behaviors were really working. And so then it became a matter of, well, let's go put on a different pair of glasses and go looking for what is happening around us in the world, and looking at also what were some of our colleagues doing, how were they talking about themselves and such. And we began to really notice that there was an awful lot of noise out there, but not a lot of value. And I was like, who wants to pay attention to that? So I would say that there's been really a big, really strong reorientation to really try to provide as much extreme value as we can in every interaction that we have.
I think I asked that question. It was very generic. So let's focus on a personal side, on a personal basis. What do you learn about yourself or those around you?
Okay. So this is really fun. So I had occasion, as I continue to meet other people, and we talk about our lives and how we do life, etc. I get a lot of reactions like, "Wow, that seems over the top." You know, you read a book every single week, and you distill it down to its essence and bones, and take 25 to 50 pages of typewritten notes. Then you have somebody on the podcast to talk about it, and you write a LinkedIn article about it, and blah 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 blah. You do all that, yes. I have a strong need for cogitation, for learning, for growth, and for expansion. And I happened to meet someone who introduced me to a tool, and I don't know if I could remember what it is. But anyway, essentially what it did is it essentially sort of typed me, and that's just one single view as being, a little bit kind of, I don't want to say out there, a bit on, not on the spectrum per se. We're all on the spectrum, but it sort of showed that, all right, so I'm not your standard issue. Here's the median score. And on 8 of the 10 score measures, I'm outside that.
Just to be clear, I will confirm with the tool that you were out there. Very positive way, but yeah.
Right. But here I am. I'm 60 years old, Mitchell, and I didn't really know that about myself. Yes, I knew I was a little different, but it was actually one of those kind of things where I've gone all these years in my life and I didn't really understand this. And here's how it came up, Mitchell. Having the conversation with this guy, his name was Jeff, and he came right out of it when he was introducing himself. He said that he was ADHD and something else, and on somewhere and slightly autistic. And I said to him, I said, well, I admire that about you because I feel like that you have an opportunity, you're situated to really make a strong contribution through those lenses. And he goes, hang on a minute, sister, not so fast. You might be, somewhere in this camp too. And that's how it came up. But I have to tell you, it was really arresting to learn that about myself. And one of the things I always tell people that I work with is, look, you're going to be learning about yourself for the rest of your life because there's that much to know. But what I was really gobsmacked by that.
That's interesting. It makes me think about the two most important words that we as humans need to focus on for the next evolution of humanity. And I'd be curious your thought processes on these two words: compassion and discernment.
Ooh, okay, this is really yummy. Oh, how did I know this was going to be so yummy? I wouldn't have had lunch. Okay. Okay,
Let's call
compassion.
this dessert, okay?
Okay, good. I love it. I love it. Dark chocolate is where it's at. Okay, compassion first. That is a term for me, Mitchell, that is really increasing its real estate in my life and mind and heart, as I continue to age and evolve. And for me, I am finding myself, and certainly what I'm hoping to elicit and develop in others, I find myself given over, like being sometimes overwhelmed by thinking of, wow, what somebody must be going through. Like what you were talking about, how you're interacting with some of the people that address you or reach out to you on LinkedIn. I would say that what you're doing there is very strong compassion. But for me, compassion is the notion of really trying to reach across into the space and heart and mind and soul and being of someone else to try to understand and be with them in their experience. And whatever that is, and just to be in that with them, to have that solidarity, to have that grace with them, to me, I feel like is compassion. It's compassion in action. So that shows up in how we listen to people, how when people give us excuses as to why they didn't produce what they said they were going to produce, how we react to that. It's when our leaders make mistakes and let us down. It's when someone we love makes mistakes and lets us down. So for me, there's a lot I could say about compassion, but let you respond to what I've said so far.
No, you're doing good. You're doing good. And the bigger issue is in terms of what you do as a individual and as your company. How do you tie that compassion into corporate culture? And so I'd like you to take that to the next level, and then we'll jump on the discernment word afterwards.
Okay, so two things on that then. The first that I would tell you is even just approaching organizations, I have a lot of compassion for what leaders are going through right now. And I know that so many leaders are struggling with, I don't know what to do. Nothing that I've known to do seems to be working. The results are either stagnant or going backwards. I'm so frustrated. And then we go into these despair modes of, it's intensity, it's stress driven, and it's the pressure and the focus is just off the charts. So I have a lot of compassion for leaders that are caught in that gap between what they have known to work so well over all these years and all the mentors and leaders that taught them to do these things. And then now today, which is both a function of an evolved workforce and also some of the Gen Z and the Gen Y percolating up further with stronger voices who are more demanding. So I have a lot of compassion for leaders that are navigating with that. And then inside the culture piece of that, I want those same leaders then to have compassion for this very diverse workforce that is trying to be able to manage their overall lives with work as a component of that. And what that means is many of those people have other big, strong pulls on their lives, but they still want and need to work. Maybe they're helping to raise children and they've got to get them to and from school and get to some activities. A little flexibility goes a long way for that. A little autonomy in how and when they do their work. Maybe they're taking care of aged parents. Maybe they're dealing with a disability of their own, or maybe they're sick. And there's so many things that are happening with the workforce today that I don't think many leaders are taking into account, and they just want them to do work the way that works for them or has worked for them. And so I am trying to help develop that compassion muscle in them, and by helping them see that bigger lens of, hey, this is what's going on for your workforce. How do you expect them to give their best when this is what they're up against? And you're demanding and yelling at them and telling them they can only play and do things in this lane by hopping on this one left foot to get it done. So to me, that's where I want to see much more compassion in a culture.
All right. So we got to move from the two C's, command and control, to compassion.
Yes, please.
And then what is discernment? So first of all, that's a management skill and a leadership skill that there are some people that will never learn.
Yeah.
Those that do will rise quicker and companies will succeed more. And those that don't, what do you do in that scenario?
Other than just stand by and watch them crash and burn and fall over. I do see a lot of resistance to that. I do see that, and I have compassion for that too. It's like, I can see that you're resisting this and it's not going to work out well for you. And I don't know how much there is you can really do. I mean, you can only, as the saying goes, lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink that. So I have seen people greatly resist, this idea and this trend. So I don't think we can help everyone, Mitchell, my own view.
So speaking of those that do need to be supported in a different way of thinking, is cover the discernment word in today's AI powered world.
What I appreciate about that, and there's so many levels to this one too. I love your questions, but first there's the notion of, as leaders, we do need to be agile in how we discern. So we do need to be oftentimes quick, but we still need to have quality discernment too, which means that we're often going to need to look at various sources of information or views of information, which takes generally more time. So we can't just take one source, obviously, or just rely on one AI tool or anything like that to be able to give us some perspective or some ideas for moving forward. But then there's also, and I have to imagine at some point this is going to relate to our values. I mean, discerning how is what's in front of me and how I'm expected to behave suit my values. Do they honor my values? I think that's definitely a part of it. Do they honor what I have been charged to lead in this organization through its purpose, and who I'm responsible for in terms of my full set of stakeholders? So I think discerning all of those things at one time, and that's one of the many major challenges of being a leader. You got to do that like almost real time, and you got to do it well. But you do need to factor in all of those different things that I've said so far, and many others that I haven't.
Yeah. All right. So what's your favorite dance?
Tango.
Really?
Just because I've been studying it for a while, and I find it to be so intricate and expressive. And the other thing about it is people don't understand this. I didn't understand it. When you watch a couple dancing the tango, what you don't understand is that's all real-time improv. There's no practice and rehearsing of those moves. What it is the gentleman who's leading is using his body to communicate. There's no words. There's singing outside. It's music to communicate to her where he wants her to go. So you have to really be in tune with your partner. You got to listen to be able to respond to that. And you as the follower can't be leading. And that's a really hard job for some of us, by the way. Not your turn to lead right now. You're following. But the expression and what the human body can do, it's so beautiful. And all of it is just elicited in the moment, co-created together. It's beautiful.
So as you've been able to tango through life, where did you find yourself naturally leading, and more importantly, where were you leading and then you decided you needed to follow?
Hmm. Where was I leading? And then I realized I needed to follow. Well, besides the tango dance floor, that was a big one for sure. Stop stepping on my toes and trying to drive. It's not working, would say my male partners. Um, um, well, I certainly could. I can drum up a few instances of my dating life where that definitely doesn't work, to always to try to be the one who's leading situations. So that would be one example, I suppose, where sometimes it's a matter of just letting things unfold and letting the other person also take the lead and see where they want to go. Maybe that would be one place I would say.
Hmm. You were struggling for that. How about in the business world? Can you think of one?
Where I was leading and I realized I needed to follow. Well, I would say, and I don't know that this was so much a realization as it was a natural, beautiful unfoldment, was, and this is perfect for leaders as well, as, as we continue to evolve our business and what we're putting out into the world. Back in May, we released the Gusto Now Academy, which has been an idea in my head for years. And because I had the right people on the team, we could actually finally make it happen. There's no way that it would have happened without this team. And so I would say that what I realized as I was trying to lead that initiative is I think it would have taken another 2 years for it to happen if I would have stayed the one that was really pushing the advance. When I got out of the way and said, hey, here's the vision, here's where we're going to go, here's what I want. Not only did they deliver past that vision and just, wowed me. But then I had all this other room to be able to go run and do other things. And so I was trying, I didn't know it at the time because I thought in my own mind, I thought, well, I'm the one who knows where this is supposed to go. I'm the one that's been creating it for all these years. There's been all of the programs and the podcast and everything else that I've created. This is where it's going. But once we created the general structure for all that to sit on, and then I could massage it and just give it the structure that I needed, and then I got out of the way for here's where it needs to go to be released. I could not believe, Mitchell, one, how fast it got stood up, and I was so delighted by the creativity, the commitment, the efficiency that the team introduced into the project. So I would say that would be a good example.
Nice. Okay, thank you. Every leader needs to borrow that. What?
I think so.
Yeah. I.e., stop micromanaging. Okay. Um, you use the word gusto in its important word to you. Um, tell me why that's important, and what does it mean for companies to have gusto?
One of my favorite questions of all time. Yes, gusto does mean a lot to me, and here's why. I mentioned before that I lived in Spain and Brazil in my mid-20s. I still speak Spanish and Portuguese. Over all the years, I remember my mother-in-law would say to me as I would dive into a meal, she'd say, "You eat with such gusto, I just have to join you." And so this word has kind of been, percolating in the back of my mind for a long, long time, and it lives in my general sphere. And for when I was married, I loved to host big parties and I just loved to do it with, zest and passion. It was always over the top kind of thing. And so gusto has this connotation with eating and, the essence of life and connection. And what it tends to mean is exuberance, excitement, zeal, enthusiasm, oomph, and those are all things that I think organizations would generally welcome in their culture and their people. So all of our programs are designed to elicit that kind of experience, that kind of energy, that kind of interaction. It's like the idea is, you're living with gusto kind of thing. You're working with gusto. That's why.
Hmm. So it's interesting when I'm thinking about that because what happens when you're asked by the CEO or a board to bring gusto to the organization, but they haven't put the foundations in place yet to even allow something like that to happen? How
Mm.
do you respond to that scenario?
It happens all the time. Yeah. They like the general idea, come in, well, they think, oh, you're going to come in and do a few, programs for us kind of thing, and we'll be on our way. But the first thing that I like to be able to see is one, that they really do have a genuine commitment to this and what it's going to look like. But then secondly, we really do have to start with, what is the purpose of this organization? Does anybody in your organization actually know that? Do they know what the purpose is? Or and if they're responding to you by looking at some kind of a plaque on a wall to find the answer to that, we didn't do it. So we you don't have it. Um,
Wait, I got a card in my, I got a plastic card in my wallet that tells me what the corporate purpose is. Let me read
right,
it.
right.
Yeah.
So we have to start there. So we do have a whole program. It's not a hard thing to go through, but to be able to together as a team to wild a live scratch for what is the purpose of this organization and why should anybody care? And then once we have that, then we can also develop the mission, the vision, and the value statements. And then it becomes a matter of embedding it through into their culture so that it starts to live, and people are recognized for living this kind of a thing, living their values. And once we do those kinds of things, we're well on our way to being able to accept. And that's part of the whole activation of Gusto, really, is doing these kinds of behaviors. That's part of the program. So if they buy off on that, then we're pretty far. We're well on our way to having a pretty good launch.
Okay, let's do the and. The and is they don't buy off on that. What do you do?
Well, then I think that we have to move into the discernment phase and say, well, how's that working for you? Why are we talking in the first place, right? There must have been a reason for us to have a conversation, or that you let me into your office to have a conversation with you. How's your organization performing? What are the financials? What are your engagement numbers? What is your turnover? When was the last time you innovated something brand new? What kind of customer service scores do you have? And so that would be, then I would want to go under the hood for those kinds of measures, because everything that we do is going to impact those numbers.
And if they ultimately say, by the way, I love that, a great response. If they ultimately say, yeah, I don't care about any of this stuff, I need you just to run your program. Do you accept the money and go, or do you say no?
That's a good question. I guess I would have to say it depends, but because here's the thing, I would like, in the ideal world, I'd like to say, really, you need to really be totally aligned with this sort of a thing. But I want to go back to what you and I have talked about that I love so much. You sell them what they need, and you deliver. You sell them what they want, and you deliver what they need. So if I come in there and I say, yes, I will deliver this, and I do this, I know that I'm going to deliver what they want. But in the process, I do believe that we'll be able to help deliver more of what they actually need in that process, which is to get on this overall train, which is beyond just delivering that little program.
So it sounds to me that you're doing your form of tango with the prospect when you're having that conversation.
I definitely think so. And I've been somewhat aware of this for a little bit of while. It's just they don't always know that we're on the dance floor and that they have these special shoes on.
Mm, that's interesting. So does a typical client change the dance shoes they wear when they work with you?
They sort of have to, and sometimes it's just sort of, it happens like, like osmosis. In that, I remember distinctly, for example, I was working with one founder of an organization, and she tended to dress a little bit more conservatively. And I always showed up in the office, with my colors and my red jewelry and or whatever, my fun little high heels, etc. That's how I like to dress. And as we continued the work, we worked on strengths and the purpose, and we started working in the inspirational piece on the Monday morning meetings. And she did start to note. I started to notice that she started dressing a little more playfully, less really formal, and a little bit more flair. And I don't. Well, we didn't discuss it, but I don't think she was aware of that. And I'm not saying that it was a direct, manifestation and from our work, or that we were the direct cause, but I would like to think there was part of that was in there.
I was thinking about literally versus figuratively, but that's a great response.
Mm, mm, yeah.
Yeah, fascinating. So, given where the world's at today, how are you fitting in?
I would say that in many ways, I'm starting to feel a little bit like a modern day organizational cardiologist. And I've never said that before, just for you, Mitchell. Came out just for you.
Thank you.
And what I mean by that is it's, I do feel myself connecting with leaders on this level of like, man, I feel your pain. This is awful. You've just had a heart attack or a series of heart attacks. And now you're in my care, in my hospital with my staff, and we're working on this. And so very much of what I've come to, and it kind of relates to what we talked about before we got on air. We've been saying for a while within Gusto now, we're doubling down on humanity while we work alongside technology. So we are helping to really develop and emerge the human in the work equation, so that one, the humans have they're more fulfilled in the process of doing that work, and two, they have a better chance of working in the future if they are more human than they are just maybe naturally as they emerge in the world. So I feel like that's what we're doing is we're very much reaching people on that level of care that says, I know this is really painful and you don't know what just happened to you or what is happening to you, and that's why we're here.
Alise, why is that important to you?
Well, because one, there's a reason I'm an organizational psychologist and not say a clinical psychologist, and that is because I believe in the wonder, the power, the mobility of work, nobility of work. I was raised by first farmers and then restaurateurs, and work was it was a central part of life. It was part of how you moved through the world. It wasn't something you had to do to make money. It was noble. And when I got into the world of work, I immediately had the experience. I bruised my knees many times in various experiences, but I had the experience of being catalyzed by my work into something more. To have people, I had a leader that believed more in me than even my parents combined did. And because of that belief and his ability to cast that vision of who he thought I could be in the world, I stepped into that in a way that I would have never done it had he not led me that way. And these are all things that can happen in the world of work. And whatever happens at work walks home with that human being. And now the people they interact with in their homes are then infected by that positively or negatively. So are their offspring, so are their pets, so are the communities that they choose to serve or not serve because of that. So the cascade ripple is huge.
Love that. Hey, listen, if Dr. Alise Cortez is someone that you resonate with and someone you want to talk to, um, at least how best should people reach out to you?
Easy to go to my website. I have a couple websites. So gusto-now.com is my main business site, and there's a contact feature in there. You can reach out. It has my email on there too. It has a phone number you can reach us by as well. You can send a message. You can find me on LinkedIn easily. You can find my speaking site, which is alisecortez.com. Same way to be able to contact. Lots of different ways to reach out.
Got it. Now, based on this conversation, is there a question that you would like to ask or you would have liked me to ask that I didn't?
Is there a question that I would have liked you to ask? I guess maybe one that would be given just the spirit of this whole conversation, where we've gone so far or already, is it may be something like, why have you stuck with this?
Oh, that was pretty close to. That's a great one. Okay, I'll ask it. How come? Why have you stuck with this?
Well, so specifically, my camp as really an organizational psychologist, and we're helping to develop leaders and to develop cultures and such. But we do it specifically by activating meaning and purpose. That's our niche. That it's definitely an expression of my purpose, and it's something that I can't not do. And I really am convicted by the idea that there's something about this path that has me, that I'm on, that one, I didn't want to get to the end of my life saying and know that I did not pursue this, that I took some easier path and that I let this go. That was the first thing. I didn't want to have those regrets. And secondly, there's something in me, that feeling of being compelled, and like, it's not being driven, because that's different, being compelled by this, that there's like a knowing in my bones, like this is the right path for us, for me specifically, and how it is that I'm trying to help develop and steward leaders to this higher level of being, to this way of being in the world. It is more enlightened. It is going to make a difference in their individual lives and their individual families. It's a good way to be in the world, and it's what the world needs. And so I feel like if I didn't really pursue this specifically as we are, with that kind of aim in mind, that I would be giving up on myself, and I
Mm.
can't do that.
Mm. That was beautiful. I'm so glad you asked yourself that question. Um, that was a great response. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really great to be able to see you in this way.
Well, thank you for a really beautiful conversation, Mitchell. Really one of a kind. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And listen, for those that are still here, this is your time to take action. This is your time to spread cred dust. Take the idea or thought or action that really resonated with you and post on your favorite social media platform. Make sure you tag Dr. Alise and myself. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Leaders Living Their Values. Take care, everyone. Bye now. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you found value in today's episode. Like, subscribe, and share your aha moments on your preferred platform. Remember, credibility starts with clarity and living your values. Learn more at mitchelllevy.com. Until next time.